Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Steve Reeves. I am a software developer at TPF Software, and today we're going to look at file backups and file comparison. And one of the reasons why you would need file backups is if you're a developer, obviously you'll make many changes in your code and make some and do some testing, and sometimes you want to revert back to a previous version of the file, and it comes in very handy in getting back code that was tested. Potentially it needs to be brought back up again. So the way we start out by setting up our file backup is we want to go to the Preferences panel. We do that through the Options. And here under Editor Options, you'll see a selection that says File Save Options. And what this is going to do is we're going to go to our local revisions here. We're going to turn on the Auto Save Edited Files. We're going to look at our revisions to keep, and this is how many of the individual backup files per individual file you want to keep. So what will wind up happening is these get saved off, they will get auto number incremented from 0 to whatever number it is here that you've got set. So I'm going to run this up just a little bit to make a change. And then we also want to look at our minutes between backups. So what this does is it starts a counter, a timer counter, and if the file has been changed within that allotted minute time frame, it will automatically create another backup file if it's only been changed during that time frame. So in this situation, if I'm in my editor and I've made a change, I haven't saved, and 5 minutes passed, it's going to create a new backup file. So what I'm going to do for this demonstration is we're just going to run this back down to 1 minute so we can kind of see some changes here. So I've got 20 set and 1 minute intervals, and we're going to say OK to go out and select that. So here's a file that we're working with, just a simple file, and we haven't saved it. We're going to make a couple of changes. So we've altered the file. And in order to see these backups and what's happening, we're going to go to our Source tab. And in the Source tab, you're going to see Backed Up File tab selection. You'll see the Compare File and the Local Revisions. Now, currently, if I select Backed Up Files, you will see that throughout the day today in testing, I've got several of these backed up files. This file is currently the file that is opened. And here is, that's as it was opened. Here is the oldest backup file, and you can see they go through to the latest backed up file. Now, currently this file has not been backed up, so we haven't hit that time limit yet. If you want to look or open any of these files, you can always go to them and double click them, and they will open in the editor also for editing. In order to close this file, when you're reviewing it, you can either double click the file to open it in the editor, or you can just come over and hit the X box if you're just reviewing it. In the backed up files menu, as you're reviewing these, you cannot edit these files here. However, you can, if you needed to get part or a piece of these files, you can copy parts to the clipboard and then paste them in at a later time. I'm still kind of waiting on this one file to be backed up. Okay, so here's this file, and here is the backup that it snapshotted during our 1-minute allotment. If you wanted to go back and take a look at it, you can here. You can see this one's definitely different than the opened file, and it's also different than the previous version of the file. One thing you can do whenever you're doing this is you can go back to any of these revisions, like I say, and open them up, and you can do a file comparison. You do this a couple of ways. When you have a file open, such as this one, you can right-click and come down to Compare Files, or you can click the Compare Files icon in the source menu. Let's come down and say Compare Files. And right now what has happened is the file that we're editing, which is PRG7A, is going to be put in the right side of our file compare. The right side file is the file that will always get edited when you're doing any comparison. The left side is just a reference file. So if we choose to compare it against our version here, we can take this file and drop it in here and do a comparison on it. Now there wasn't many changes in this file. Only thing we changed was we added this as a test. So what this is showing you is that the left side file has a blank line and the right side file has some additional text. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this compare, and I'm going to close this file, and I'm going to go out and get a file that's got a few more changes to show the differences in multiple changes. We're going to grab these two files, and here's another way that you can open the comparison screen by selecting multiple files here. The first file is going to go to the right side. The second file will go to the left side. And depending on which file you need to edit will depend on which one you place on the right side. So if I want to edit the version 2 that I have here, this is a manually created version, not a automatic backed up version. But if I wanted to edit this one, I could swap the two, and that will change the side of the files are on, and then I can do a compare. Now with this comparison screen, what we're going to see is we're going to see multiple different changes. When you're looking down through here, you can see there were 4 added lines total. There were 6 deleted lines between the two files, and only 1 line that was modified. The pink or the beige, orange, whatever color it actually views on your screen is the modified line. And here the modification was between the two files was this right here, just a simple space on these two. In order to edit and make any changes to our right side file, we can go to Next. If I want to move this across to our right side file, I can say Move Right, and not only will it move that change right and put it in our new file, it will also run us down to our next difference. And this difference here is that we have a blank line on the left side, and in the right side, which is the olive color change, we have an additional name here. We've got additional variable. If we want to leave that, we can just go to our next difference. If we want to update the right side from the left side, again, we can say Move Right to make that change. In this one, the light teal or cyan color, what we've got is we've got a change that's in the left side, but it's not in the right side. In the right side, it's a blank line. And so in order for us to change this, naturally we could go Move Right. And in these last two, if we choose just to leave them, or this last one here, if we choose to leave it, we can just ignore those changes if we choose to keep them there and go forward. When you're ready to close this file and save it, you can do close compare. A dialog box will come up and ask you if you want to accept the changes. You can say yes. Now sometimes whenever you are comparing files and backing up files and looking at the different backups, you'll want to, you can maintenance these files. You can remove them as needed. That's done through a local revision. These are the same files that belong to the PR7A. Any changes in the PR7A2, a different file is going to bring up a different list. And as you can see, there's one that's just happened within that first minute of saving this file or changing this file. So if we wanted to do some maintenance on this and we didn't want some of these files here, we could go in, right-click, and delete them and get them out. We can also open them by double-clicking that particular file and bringing that file up. Another way to maintenance these files, which is more at the file level structure if you want to do it that way, is to go into our help, go to our diagnostics, and go to view remote cache. And what this will do is it'll take you out to the file level where our backups are stored. These backups deal with the PRG7As, so we're going to look right in here. And we're going to see this is a file representation of our file structure here. And at any time these can be deleted also. So again, to change the options, to change the timeout or the number of files, we're going to go into Editor Option, File Save Options. You can turn them on or off. And this is a blanket coverage. It's auto-save for all of the files that's being edited. Another thing that can be done is multiple files can be compared at the same time. So if I want to compare this file with, say, PRG7A2++, I can come to Compare Files. I can come over, I can grab this file, and I can drop it here. And we've already seen this comparison earlier, but this is a different way to do it. And up will come the two compared files. If I want to open a second file and do a comparison on a second file at the same time, I can open that. And now we've got to compare going with two files. I seem to have lost my one file here. Let me close that compare. Let's bring this one back up. We can go back to this file. Let's bring this compare back up. Okay, so currently we've got two different files we're comparing with. These aren't comparing to each other, but they're comparing to their relative set of what their other file includes. So the reason we want to do this is because if The reason I'm showing this is because if we make changes, say in any of these, let's move this right. And here in the menu, you'll see except for all files, discard for all files. So when you've got multiple comparisons running and you've got multiple files that's getting compared, like here, and you make these changes, if you hit accept, you're going to only accept the changes in this comparison. As such, if you hit accept on this one, you're only going to hit changes in this comparison. If you hit accept for all files, you're going to accept the changes not only for these comparisons that you've made, but for also this comparison that you've made. So depending on how many tabs you've got open and how many files you're comparing, you can either accept for all the files or discard for all the files. And naturally, if you don't accept for all the files, when you do go to close, you will be asked if there's changes made, if you want to save the changes for this comparison. As such, if there's comparison changes made in this comparison, you'll be asked for both. So now if we go back and we looked at our backed up files, you'll see we have a few more backed up files in our list. We have the backed up files for our A version, and we also now have backed up files for our B version. And just to recap real quick one more time, the light cyan over here means there's a left side change, and to apply it we would hit next. Olive in the right side would mean there's a right side change. If you apply it, it's going to take what's in the left and apply it to the right. One of the things in the compare screen that if you've got a long file, which these aren't long files, but if you have a long file and you're looking for something, we do kind of have a quick navigation bar here in the side that will help move the positioning of the cursor within the file structure. Sometimes it doesn't get it right on, sometimes it gets it close. It just depends on how big these changes are. And in doing so, if you're close and you want to go to the next particular file change, you can select nearest, and it will take you to that closest level file change in the code, and then you can apply that change if needed. Again, after the change is applied, it's going to take you to the next change in the code, the next difference. So you select nearest to go to the next. You can make the apply, or you can go to the next by selecting the next button again. Or if you want to go back to the previous, you can go back up to the previous change. Chitra, I think that is that's pretty much all I've got to cover on this. I'm ready open for any questions that anyone might have.
Thanks, Steve. That was an informative session. The floor is now open for your questions. Please feel free to ask any questions or doubts pertaining to file backup and compare feature to the presenter and the technical experts on the call.
Hi, Steve. This is Niranjan from zTPF Software India. I have a question. When you store the backup for the file, where exactly it will get stored? Can you just show me once again?
Okay. You talking about at the file level?
Yeah, Steve.
Okay, so we'll go to our help screen. We'll go to diagnostics. Okay. And then we'll go to view remote cache. And by clicking that, that's going to take us out to our file level folder and where this is stored. And it'll be under the backup folder. So in my system, it's saved here at this path: users, software developer, app data, local, temp, zTPFGI, source view, cache, backup.
Steve, in the meantime, we have another question from another person. Can the right side of the compare be manually edited?
It can be manually edited. So if we chose over here where this is a blank line, let's say we want to take these lines out, we can manually edit it like that. And what's going to happen is it'll take a second for the display to catch up, usually about a second or so, and then the color coding will catch up and it will resync. Did that answer the question? Which the right side could be edited, in fact?
Yes, Steve, they replied yes.
Okay, thank you.
Niranjan, can you just now ask the question? I think you have joined again. Niranjan?
Yes, Chitra, thanks. Steve, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my question was, in that backup file folder, how many files will get saved? The number of counts I need.
The number of files? I haven't actually ran this to see how many can be saved, but it looks like you can save just about as many as we can put here. So these backups are just going to continue, as you see here on the left side with the numbering here. Let me go out to the file structure real quick. So in this we've got you know, you've got okay, number, but it's only going to back up to whatever number you tell it. So if you've got I want to save 100 backups of the same file, it's only going to increment to 100 files and cut off.
Yeah, I have in option how many files we have mentioned. Same file will be stored in that backup folder, correct?
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be this number here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So if you change, if I change this from 20 to 100, I will have 100 different numbered backup files of that single file in that folder over a period of time.
Okay, Steve.
And the way that works is during, like I say, during that you may not have 100 just because you have that number there, but if you are coding in that file long enough and you make enough changes, you could potentially have up to 100 or up to that number that's set there in the preference.
Yes, Steve. Thank you so much.
Thank you.